I tell you what, though, right? Because we've been ragging on the Acolyte, but we've been doing it wrong, according to Kotaku. I felt like this article was worth talking about a little bit because it's from everyone's purveyor of fantastic gold takes, Alyssa Mercante.
And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse, because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker.
Says, if you're mad about the Acolyte, then you haven't been paying attention to Star Wars. The latest episode of Star Wars Disney Plus series shows the dangers of the Jedi's hubris. So it says here, the Acolyte has been open about its intentions from the jump to portray the Jedi Order at the height of its power and show how they are responsible for their own fall from grace. The same fall that we watched play out in the prequels 20 years ago. But despite the Acolyte's consistency in depicting that vision, yeah, sure, okay. The fetid Sarlacc pit that is corners of the Star Wars fandom continues to insist that the series is breaking canon, destroying lore, and otherwise ruining a piece of media that they've made their entire personality. I mean, where's the lie there? It's done all of those things, I think. The latest episode only fueled those fires, even though it echoes sentiments and sorrows first seen in The Phantom Menace. I mean, do we agree with that one, I guess? It goes on. The Jedi didn't seem wholly innocent. Plus, May survives and is on a mission to kill all 4 of them who were there that day. And Osha eventually leaves the Order for reasons unknown. That's still not been answered, by the way, why she left. And we've only got 1 episode left.
Well, she said she failed in episode 6. That's all we got.
Well, that's good enough for me. But now we know exactly what happened on that fateful night, and it paints a stark picture of the Jedi's fallibility, the dangers of assumption, and the flaws of tying a religious group to a governing body. And this is where it gets amazing. So Saul, who first spotted May and Osha in the forest, followed them to the Coven safe haven, or their safe space, if you will. Believes the witches are a dangerous, dark-aligned group who could be sacrificing children, which is a belief which is entirely justified, I think. And be fair, his perspective is damning. Their behavior could certainly look strange when, since childhood, you've been part of a group that believes only its version of praying and practicing religion is valid. Naturally, you'd be freaked out by 50 or so women chanting in front of a giant, scary hole in the ground. I think there's a bit more to it than that, to be fair.
And what if that coven was the one who was in charge of a governing body? What if it was in power? That would be acceptable, right?
His misunderstanding of what is clearly a much more complicated situation than witches bad leads him to believe that he must save the girls, especially Osha, who he thinks is meant to be his Padawan. Though Carrie-Anne Moss tells him not to meddle in these affairs, the girls take the Jedi test and warns him of the dangers of getting involved. Saul refuses to listen, essentially egging his frustrated Padawan, Torben, who hops on a speeder to rescue the 2 girls so that he can go back to Coruscant. Things go downhill fast with their arrival kicking off a massive fight during which Osha and May's mother, Anasea, is killed by Saul as she begins using magic in a way that clearly scares him. It would fucking scare anyone. It's terrifying. She turned into a demon smoke monster with like big scary teeth and everything.
And started killing the child, doing whatever to it.
It was a nice, scary demon monster, actually.
You see the framing of this. It's like it's not like she was doing something that was clearly like horrific and could, any sane person would interpret it as a threatening move. He was scared. He was just a scared little man who couldn't handle the powerful woman that was in front of him. It's like you're trying to reframe something that is clearly painting her in the wrong to try and portray Saul as being the aggressor here. And it's so disingenuous. It's exactly what I'd expect from Kotaku, to be fair. It says then the witches then possess Kilnaka, who beats Saul and Torben only for the Coven to be knocked unconscious by Endara, who force shoves them out of Kilnaka's head. I mean, they're not knocked unconscious; they're just dead. They just their brains explode or something.
Fucking dead. Yeah,
they're disconnected from the Force Matrix.
Literally. Well, even the fighting was supposed to be Matrix inspired. You could tell, and it's like,
right.
All right, dude. Like, we get your fangirling over Moss being in this, but come on, like, this is Star Wars.
But again, the article is trying to frame the entire situation in a way that makes the Jedi into the bad guys, and exactly what the episode did. But both of them are so incompetent at what they're doing that like it just makes the Jedi seem even more justified in what they did. It's like, oh well, okay, sure, Anastasia turned into a smoke demon and like tried to vaporize a girl, but Saul overreacted and panicked because he was scared of her, and like it was really his fault. And yeah, the rest of the coven possessed one of the Jedi and tried to make him kill the others, but what else can you do in that situation?
But it's written to appease to the liberal arts types that see morality just from like which protected group is involved in something. So it's like, oh, they're women, they're women of color. So of course anything they do is morally okay. So like the right type of audience for their work, which luckily is very small, but they're also very vocal online. They look at it as like, yeah, the Jedi clearly they overstepped their boundaries. Who are they to come in here and look at this? They just executed on a mass genocide of indigenous people on this planet, and they're applauding this representation of those types of stories are being told on screen now.
I'm honestly surprised that the real revelation wasn't that the Jedi just massacred all of the witches with lightsabers, because Carrie-Anne Moss in this, like, she had no way of knowing that her saving Kelnaka from this mind control was going to kill all of the witches.
Nope.
So, like, again, like, this isn't any of their faults. They didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
It would be different if, like, it was a tense standoff and someone jumped the gun and, like, the Jedi just went into kill mode and they massacred all of the witches. Like, okay, that's pretty horrific. That's damning. This is just like, nope, people making the best decisions they can with the information they have at their disposal.
Yes.
Ryan had suggested, I'm sure he would agree, the simplest things, like Torben, how do we characterize him? Make it so that his interest in the Jedi was he wanted to become like a heroic, awesome savior of people. He gets that interaction at first at the temple, whatever the fuck it is. And obviously he's kind of now afraid, but also challenged and wants to take him on a bit and get some, like, he feels like he was fucked up and he's like, no, I can beat them. I can get over it. And then it's like they, get some reason to think they are attacking those children. And then you charge in. It's like pretty easy as a sort of, and he can be the brash one. Soul can be the one that's like, he's aggressive, but he's right. And then Kelnaka can back up Soul or whatever for every reason. And that you've got Indara trying to control the situation, but recognizes something's wrong here.
Yeah.
And it could be built on misunderstandings and then rushed forward by characteristics that are built. Like, you could have spent time establishing Torben as a character. He could have been this kid who's wide-eyed and interested in the Jedi, sees them as heroes, wants to be a hero himself, and goes too far. It's as simple as that.
And then the fact that they switch places, the two girls, they switch places, and they're each getting told the reality of how things really played out could have been also opposite takes, right? Like the Jedis are sharing about how this cult really had her indoctrinated, and then Kylo Ren, Smiler Ren, could have told her like, no, actually the Jedi are capable of making mistakes, and here's my experience of what happened to me when I was training as a Jedi. Like it could have been an interesting take too.
Right.
The frustrating thing is that there's elements of this whole series, like if you were to describe it at a high level, like, two sisters who have a shared trauma relating to the Jedi, and that's put them down opposite paths, but they're both very powerful and they have to like try and like reconcile their destiny within the Force from very different philosophical perspectives. That's going to cast some doubts over like how justified the Jedi are as a force of peace within the galaxy. There's a lot you can do there in the hands of good writers. Like the fundamental premise isn't terrible. It's just it's implemented by fucking idiots, and like this is what you end up with. They take the worst possible route to any kind of resolution throughout this entire show.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to see because there is something interesting there. It's just these are the wrong people to be implementing it.
And even the concept that they are two parts of a whole, right? That could have been really interesting too, is that they each embody the sort of duality of a single person. Is that one side can be very optimistic, and that could be one character, is that she's going through life with unbelievable optimism and just trusting whoever she meets. And then there's the other side, which is like the rage, that there's nothing but anger, and how both of them are suffering in their own way because they actually need to unite to see the world in its true reality. That could have been interesting too. But yeah, any complexity they shrivel up from pretty quickly.
It's not the ideas, it's the execution. But what if they actually did mean for Trinity to know what she was doing? Cut that. Because they're already trying to make the Jedi look bad, right? So there you go.
The thing is, though, if I were like on the High Council and she reports I killed all the witches in an attempt to save Kelnaka from being mind controlled into killing us, I'd be like, huh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's acceptable.
And if
But I
someone
mean,
said like, no, she should be fired, I'd be like, why?
That's a pretty big power, though.
Well, yeah, but I'm not talking about the power side of it. I don't think it matches that she's able to do that. I don't think it matches from Star Wars, nor does it match from Leslie Headland's own logic of the power of one too many. I don't know. Like, what the hell was that?
is weird.
Outclassed the entire coven. What the hell?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that happened.
But putting that to aside, just looking at the actions from a character point of view, I don't see why that would give Trinity guilt. And I love the idea, by the way. Fucking first episode being like, you guys kill the unarmed. Are you actually referencing the fact that she killed all the witches who used their power to attempt to kill them with Kelnaka? That doesn't
They
count
were
as
just
a weapon.
defending themselves. But
Yeah.
they were just
At
defending
this
themselves.
point, it's the most arbitrary fucking distinction in the history of weaponry. Like, it doesn't count. If I push a boulder off a cliff, it's like, I don't have a weapon. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I didn't do nothing.
Yeah. Well,
They're
They're
gravity,
powerless
that's the-
women, Mahler. Okay? Powerless.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I think if you rewatch this show, it's going to be distinctly. It was already terrible, but even worse because you know now the story that May is trying to get revenge for. And you sit there like, what the hell? It's so stupid. And May was the reason that most of them would have died anyway. She set the whole place on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I refuse to watch it over again. That's not going to happen.
Hell no, man. I don't even want to. Like, I'm so glad it's over. I'm so happy that it's almost done next week.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The only
Kept
part I
forwarding,
watched
just like the
So-
parts where they're just walking, because there were such long walking shots.
Question for all three of you: what's going to happen in the next episode? What do you think's how's the show going to end?
Oh, it's just gonna be all Smilo Ren and Osha and May are probably gonna like team up or some bullshit, and there's gonna be some bigger Sith that comes in, probably Tenebrous or Venomous or I don't know, dude. They're gonna make someone, and
Why can't they have a Sith called Derek?
Alan.
Jonathan.
There needs to be an Alan.
Derek.
Timothy,
Double.
Toby the Sith.
Nigel.
I'm here to destroy you all. Oh, it's just Toby. Don't worry about it.
Part of my assumption with this is just that they'll be flipping. Osha will hate the Jedi much more now than ever, and May will be like, maybe the
Conflicted.
Jedi aren't so bad.
Oh,
I'm still having a
that's
hard time getting
interesting.
over that foot stomp from episode 6? Foot
Dude,
stomp and then the eye splooge with the oil.
Can you truly expect anyone to remember episode 6? Really?
No,
What was the foot stomp?
with
There
the
you go.
otter,
Oh, by
the gopher or whatever. Yeah.
With the
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Basil.
yeah.
Basil,
Yeah, right, Basil. Yeah, there you go. And then she gets the oil
Sprayed in the
splooge in
face.
her eye.
Oh, that
That's
was
so
a Three
weird.
Stooges moment right there.
Yeah.
That was just...
1990s Disney.
And the thing is, that's the sort of thing that should happen to the protagonist if you just want like a little funny moment, but not the antagonist of the story,
The villain. Yeah,
who's about to
killing
confront the
Jedi.
man who's responsible for destroying her life.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, this is where you're going with this?
Yeah. Who she doesn't stab in the back just because he tells her, like, hey, can you take over here? She's like, okay, well, if I have work, I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
not gonna
it's
stab
like,
you.
well, I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
about to
yeah.
settle like a 60-year grudge and murder you, but you know.
Think about that.
I am
got-
a woman, so
got
I am
some
gonna do
problems.
as I'm told.
Now I'm
Yeah,
having
he's like,
different.
make me
Oh,
a
yeah, I can
sandwich. Okay.
Hilarious.